We're at the National Citizens Inquiry here in Toronto, and I'm here with Laura, who's an embalmer. And you've also been working in that industry for 25 years, is that
27.
right? 27. And you had a powerful testimony. You were bringing up very graphic photos of what you've had to deal with, especially since the inception of, let's face it, the vaccines. How did you feel up there to kind of disclose all this information in a public forum like that?
I'm disappointed that anyone should have to do this. It's horrific and it's not comfortable.
We had a conversation earlier and you mentioned that there's a lot of other people who are in your job, occupation,
Industry.
And there's a culture of silence, I take it, of people not publicly talking about what they're seeing, what they're experiencing. Are you one of the only ones in Canada speaking out on this in your industry?
So far, yes, but I am in touch with many funeral directors across the country that have had very similar, if not identical, experiences that I've had.
Mm-hmm. And multiple times during your testimony, you mentioned, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. No. I'm not a doctor. What has it been like to kind of see, maybe failure is too strong of a word, but what has it been like to have like a total disconnect between these industries or these practices where you're seeing this as an embalmer and then there's kind of no reaction, there's no connection, there's no talking with the medical industry about something that is obviously very notable at the very least, something that people should definitely be talking about. What has it been like to have see that disconnection?
So other people that testify here, they're testifying about morals or ethics or laws, the intangible, the human psyche part, right? I'm testifying about the tangible, physical. You can touch it, you can see it. You can't miss it, and yet I'm so disappointed in specifically the medical community, because if I'm seeing it, they're seeing it.
Yeah. And in various ways, I have some friends that are doctors, and sometimes it manifests in, cancer treatments kind of coming back and all sorts of different things. It's quite scary. And I think that there's a smoking gun, right? And I don't think that's obviously not emphasized in the news media. Maybe the news media was a little biased before, but now we're kind of seeing it's just kind of full-blown propaganda, right? So how do you feel about the country of Canada as a whole when you see these institutions kind of failing in such an epic way?
I'm embarrassed to be a Canadian.
Yeah.
It's not a pleasant place to be right now. But most of Western nations are the same, so where do you go?
Mm-hmm. In your line of work, and of course being up close and personal with what you were seeing, has this affected your social life, your relationships? Because obviously for people who just simply didn't want to get the vaccine, that had a lot of detrimental effects, but you were kind of seeing it up close and personal, and I'm sure that people were like, oh, you're crazy, Laura, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. What was it like to deal with that sort of like gaslighting and that sort of people telling you that you're crazy?
I begged people. I handed out reports. I was a very difficult person to deal with for a long period of time. Probably still am. I've always been very vocal about things I see. I was horrified, and I'm afraid for those people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're afraid for who exactly?
I'm afraid for everybody right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very afraid.
Yeah. What are you hoping will come of this National Citizens Inquiry? You kind of have stuff on the record now, talking about your experience, talking about the smoking gun that's come from this medical procedure forced on the population. What is your hope, best case scenario, that might happen in the aftermath of this?
I call it COVID mania, and I would like it to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then going forward, I would like to make sure it can never happen again. And that would be the only good that would come of this.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for that beautiful testimony as well. I hope that it leads to something like holding people accountable and trying to figure out what the heck went wrong.
Thank you.
The National Citizens Inquiry in Toronto is wrapped up, but that is just in Toronto. The National Citizens Inquiry is going across Canada. There's many more dates still, so check them out at nationalcitizensinquiry.ca to stay up to date with those. And for me, if you like my work, go to gregwycliffe.com. I film this stuff myself. I edit it myself. It's independent journalism, so you can send me a donation at gregwycliffe.com. And aside from that, like this if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to get notified next time I upload something like this. And of course, share it with a friend if you want to let them know what's actually happening in the country of Canada. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll talk to you soon.